welcome back for another edition of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the video and article that I do for comicbookinvest.com, where I talk about those little hidden treasures, those little gems you can still find tucked away in those cheap boxes, those dollar boxes, wherever you find your cheap comic books. These are the types of books I think you should be looking for based on the most recent kind of news, rumors, speculation, announcements, etc. So I got another list of some news stories for this week that tie together to some books, and I'm going to share them with you, right after this break. But before we get there, let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. Make sure you're checking out the live shows here on Wednesdays and on Sundays. And yeah, I'm just having a great time talking about comic books and going through this stuff. Hopefully you're enjoying that too. We got some new stuff coming your way on the channel, so keep an eye out for that, as well as the Hidden Gem Show, which has been doing very well. I'm actually going to start doing an article as well for comicbookinvest.com for that one too, so make sure you're checking out the article over there as well for that. So a lot of fun stuff and more things coming this year, so just keep an eye out for it, and keep your eye tuned to Rennavision for those announcements as things come your way. And with that all said, just hang on for a few seconds and I'll be right back with this week's books. All right, so we are going to dive right in again with some more Marvel and DC, books related to some of the more recent rumors, news, speculation, announcements, things like that. Stuff that's going on in the comics, things that are coming to streaming services and the movies, just whatever is relevant to these books, kind of spawn some ideas of things you should be looking for when you're flipping through those cheap boxes. So with the first one, we are going to go to the Marvel side of things. We are going to be looking at Hulk and Deadpool because, as we now know, there is a director hired for the next Deadpool movie. Deadpool 3 will be directed by Sean Levi, who worked with Ryan Reynolds recently on that Free Guy movie. So, on Twitter, apparently he's been teasing the possibility that Mark Ruffalo could be joining him on screen. So we might be seeing Ryan Reynolds and Ruffalo work together. So will that mean we're getting Hulk and Deadpool? I don't know. Maybe it's a possibility. They are teasing it, but it could just be a tease. Now, a book that I like where you see these two team up, which I got to say, it's got to be an early appearance between the two, is from the Deadpool 1997 run in issue 4. I just really dig this cover. I'm not positive this is the first time they cross paths, but this is one of the books that I like for the two of them kind of, crossing paths, teaming up, or whatever you call it, they're getting a little scrap, but just a pretty cool book. Early in that 1997 Deadpool run, so I know it's not going to be an easy find to find it in a dollar bin. I did find this book for $2, though. Not a dollar bin, but I found the first 4 or 5 issues out of the flea market for $2 each. So they are out there. If you are, keep an eye out for them, you might be able to find books like this. But anyway, that all said, what's this one doing? So sold copies for issue 4 of this right now. I mean, based off of this news, this is kind of recent sales. This thing's going for like $20. So that's kind of what we're looking at here, like $20, $22. And the asking prices on it are still kind of in that range, $20 up to $40 now. Because like I said, now speculation is starting to turn towards it as this story is going, wider and wider and reaching more people. People are starting to turn and look towards this book. And I know it's not going to be an easy find to find this particular book in a dollar bin. Because again, it's Deadpool's first ongoing series and it's an early issue. So yes, that's a tough ask. That's a tall order to find this in a dollar bin. But one you might find is another version of this, which is the Marvel Legends. This came from the Series 6 Marvel Legends. There's the not-for-resale copy of this book, which could find its way tucked away in those boxes. Because like I said, I always look for those toy editions that just get shoved into the cheap boxes because they're not priced. They're just not numbered the right way. It's just they get tucked into those things pretty often, and I grab them every time I see them, even if they're not in the greatest of shape, just because they're kind of unique and different. As I said, this came packaged with the Dupe and Deadpool figure from Series 6 of the Marvel Legends series. You can see the comic is right there packaged with it as well in that clamshell. So even being in the clamshell, this book could get some damage because those things, they were easily creased and bent. It wasn't the best packaging idea, the way that they had these back then. But That all said, this is still a book that you might be able to find, so keep an eye out for it. Even online, you can see one of these sold for as cheap as $5 back in January. Yes, it's a while ago. You don't see a lot of these selling because there's not a lot of them out there, but you could get lucky. And look, even online, only $5. It's not that expensive. And then when you move on to what's on the market right now, well, like I said, since the announcement's more recent, prices have been raised a little bit. So we're looking at $25 to $45 too. So it's pretty similar to the regular edition, but it being the toy version, there's a better chance you might find this one than the regular one. Just throwing it out there. Just a possibility. Again, not all cheap boxes and dollar boxes are created equal. You dig for what you can in your areas, whatever you have. I'm just trying to throw out some options, some books that you might be able to find out there. Now, sticking with the Deadpool kind of idea for one more story, we did have this actress. I think she was on Disney stuff way back in the day, but Bella Thorne is had a little interview where she was revealing that the character she'd like to play most is Lady Deadpool. I mean, this is not a rumor. No one's saying this is going to happen. This is just a story based off of that. But hey, it got me thinking about Lady Deadpool. And while I did bring up those second and third prints for her first appearance, and I mentioned the regular first appearance as well, is this Train Spotting homage, which I really like. Chances of you finding any of those in a dollar bin are very, very slim, as they're all pretty expensive books, with the first print being the cheapest, and this is still probably like a $40 book these days. So chances are slim you're not going to find this, but you might be able to find some other Lady Deadpool appearances, and I'm thinking along the lines of the prelude to the Deadpool Corps. Here, it's a 5-issue series. You could probably find all 5 of them if you go hunting and go a digging, and you can see even there, right there on the first issue, she is front and center as part of this squad of Deadpool characters. You can see here, sold copies on this one. You're talking about under $10 for the the first issue, and then cheap as $15 for all 5. So even online, they're not that expensive. And asking prices on these are, again, just the first issue. If you're just looking for the first issue, it's only $4. If you want the whole set, they're as cheap as, again, under $20 for the whole thing. So not an expensive series, not an expensive run. And that's 5 issues, like I said. So that is basically they're asking cover price and giving you free shipping. So it's a pretty much a bargain to buy these even online. But you might be able to dig them out for $1 a piece and save yourself even more money. So when you're flipping, just be mindful of that. And this is the prelude to the Deadpool Corps, and then it was obviously was followed up by the Deadpool Corps, which had a decent little run. But here's just an example. We're going to look at a couple of issues. This is issue 1. Had 2 covers. This is the cover A. Rob Liefeld, who I know we tore into pretty good. If you watched the TAC show just yesterday, this Wednesday, with me, Marco, and Kyle, we did give Rob Liefeld a little bit of what for for him. But anyway, go check it out if you want to know what I'm talking about. But this issue here is the cover A, and there is also a cover B, which is also a Liefeld cover. Just, yeah, there it is. But this issue, either cover, there's not a lot of sales for this. You can see, yes, you see, ooh, $50. Oh, no, that's $50 for all 12 issues. So that's a whole run. It was $50 because there were no single sale issues for issue 1 that I could find. The closest I could find was the whole run for $50. So that is my example sale, and that was back in February. Asking prices, however, you can see the cover A is like $13, and the cover B, or whatever the second cover, is like $10. So $10, $12 is really what the asking prices are for this, but nobody's even buying them at those prices. So check those cheap boxes, and maybe you can grab it there cheap. That's issue 1. But my favorite cover of this run has to be issue 4, and this is one I think you should definitely be paying attention to and looking out for, because it's an homage. I mean, look, it's pretty awesome Guns N' Roses homage featuring Deadpool. So probably gonna be hard to find in a dollar bin, but that doesn't mean you just shouldn't be aware that it's out there and be mindful of it. So keep an eye out for this issue 4, because this one does all right as compared to the rest. So you can see here, sold copies on this. It could sell cheap for like $5, or it could sell up to $20. Not too bad. And what's out there right now? Well, out there right now, again, you can buy it for $5, or you can buy it for $30. It's very inconsistent pricing, but if you find it for $1, I definitely say you grab it either way. Maybe you can turn it around and get yourself closer to that high end, that $20, $30 range. Or, maybe if you can't find one in a box, you can buy one of these on the cheap end for like $5. I don't know, just say, if you want to add it to your collection, this is a pretty cool cover, and I would probably pay $5 for this. personally. But that's just me. I know this is dollar bin digging after all, but just be mindful of it when you're flipping through the boxes. I know Deadpool, you're not easy to find Deadpool books in the cheap boxes, or at least it wasn't. I think there's more and more now these days because the character isn't as hot as he once was. But this is one of those kind of off-title series that you might find tucked away in those cheap boxes because it's not the main series or anything like that. So just keep an eye out for it when you're flipping through boxes. Maybe you find it. All right, with that said, we're going to leave Deadpool alone for a little while, and we're going to shift on over to the DC side of things for a minute. As we know, the Justice League, most of them are going to die. DC, for whatever reason, is going to kill off most of their major characters and hand the reins over to their newer versions, the younger generation of characters, and see what happens, I guess. But if you want to know the team that's going to do the killing of the Justice League, here's the squad. I mean, you can see here a lot of heavy hitters in this lineup with Darkseid and Eclipso. You got Doomsday back there. You got Necron and Neron, and there's a ton of characters here and all heavy hitters that are going to go after the Justice League. So you can see why they get taken out by this crew. Now, a lot of these characters have some pretty expensive first appearances because they're pretty big characters, but there are a few that actually aren't that expensive. So those are the ones we're going to look at when we're flipping through those cheap boxes related to this. So the first one being Neron, who, while there was some conflicting information, I think it was Comic Vine pointed to Manhunter like issue 11. I was flipping through the issue and I couldn't find him in there clearly. Like I couldn't figure it out. Like maybe I was missing something. So maybe it's a cameo that I'm missing. But that said, other areas like the DC fandom had pointed toward this Underworld Unleashed as being the first appearance. And you can see he's right there on the cover. So I'd probably lean towards this one anyway. So this is still a cheap book. So this Underworld Unleashed is your first Neron, I think that's how you say his name, who is one of that crew that's going to take down the Justice League. Who knows which character he might take down personally? It could be an interesting, integral part of the story. Could be kind of fun to see what happens. But this, you can see this, $2. I know that's also from the UK, so there's a lot of high shipping, but $2, and then you can see all three because this is a 3-issue series. The whole set for $8. So the $2 to $8 for the whole set. This is a very, very cheap book. So this is one you might be able to find on those dollar bins pretty easily. And if you look online, even you can see $10 could get you just the first issue, or $10 could get you all three, depending how you decide to shop and who you decide to buy from. But that's kind of the range. Yes, and there's plenty of single copies for issue 1 that are much less than $10. I just wanted to put this up as an example that you can get just the one or all three for the same price. So browse around, go hunting around if that's your thing. But keep an eye out for it in the dollar boxes because that's what I'm really suggesting here. That this is a book that you might just be able to find for really, really cheap. Just look for that bright green cover. Kind of jumps out at you. But that's one of the villains you could probably dig out of a cheap box. The other one also has a little bit of I want to say conflicting first appearance because the way that you see him, and we're going to talk about Necron this time, is more akin to this appearance in Green Lantern 20. When we see him with the Blackest Night, the Brightest Day, Blackest Night, that kind of storyline stuff, that's the Necron you're probably seeing in your head. But he appeared before, way back in the Justice League issue 128, and he still had that kind of same vibe. He just looked a little sillier, I guess, more of a zombie ghosty typey thing, but not as menacing as he does in the Blackest Night storyline that Jeff Johns, masterpiece. Really, I really enjoyed it. Maybe masterpiece is a bit of a stretch, but I really enjoyed the Jeff Johns run on Green Lantern. But that said, going back to this old first appearance from, I think it was in the 70s, maybe it was the 80s, I can't remember. But Justice League of America 128 is the first appearance of Necron that I could find. And you can look, this is pretty cheap. One went at auction for $1.76 online, or you can sell or buy it now for $15. So you might get lucky if you go hunting online, but just check those cheap boxes because you can find some old Justice Leagues tucked away in there. And you can see even asking prices $4 to $18. It's not that expensive, but still an interesting little book. And just one to kind of be mindful of. I mean, condition sensitive, obviously. Like the higher the grade, the better the price you're going to get. But doesn't mean when you're flipping through a box and you find a cheap copy just sitting there, might as well grab this one because it still has a first in it, and a first of a character that is pretty powerful and is playing a role in a pretty important DC story. So just keep an eye out for it. That's all I'm saying. Now, up next, we have another story that's somewhat recent. I mean, we're talking about the last couple of months. This has kind of been playing out in Captain Marvel. And, our buddy Darth Lopez has been a champion of this book because he really likes this this appearance of Binary as a separate character from Carol Danvers. So the Binary power force, that kind of souped up version of Captain Marvel, has kind of separated itself and become its own entity, I guess, basically, in the the pages of Captain Marvel. Now, this happened right at the end of issue 34, which is semi recent. I think this is a regular cover. There's a couple of covers for it, but at the end of this issue, you can see how the Binary force, I guess, kind of is separate there, kind of on its own. And then come the next issue, you get more of the story, more of the appearance, and there's even a pretty cool variant cover. Not an incentive. I think this is just like a B or C cover. I don't think this is an incentive, but there's a pretty cool cover that features the character right there, kind of front and center. I think this might have been like the spoiler cover, or the reveal cover that Marvel doesn't show you until the day that it actually comes out. So that might have been what this one was. Still, pretty cool cover. I like that. It's a pretty gorgeous image. But these are recent issues. You're not going to find these in dollar boxes yet. You might. If you might find them eventually, in the back issue bins and cheap bins from some overstock. But right now, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just pointing out the idea of this character, this Binary. But in the back issue bins, maybe, if you get lucky, when you're flipping through the Uncanny section, the Uncanny X-Men portion of whatever boxes you could find, maybe you'd find that first appearance when, Carol Danvers did kind of, go full Binary. And that was on issue 164 there. Pretty cool cover. This thing already heated up once back when the Captain Marvel movie was coming out, as people saw in the trailer that she seemed to be getting like powered up to that level. So this book started moving then. It then came back down quite a bit. It had a steep pretty fall, drop off, but now it's kind of picking back up again with some of the current storylines. So you can see the prices are bouncing back to what they kind of were at one time. So $20 to $30 sales now are the more recent things, but this thing was really cheap. This was thing down to like 10, 12 bucks again, not that long ago. But current asking prices, again, with, I guess, the current storyline drawing more attention to it, it's back up to like 25 bucks, the asking prices online. But again, keep an eye on those cheap boxes. Maybe you find one tucked away in there. I know Uncannies have been also picked pretty clean the last couple of years out of those dollar boxes, but there was a time when a lot of this stuff was in there. And I had passed over a lot of Uncanny X-Men that I could have grabbed for super cheap because I already had them, and I already had multiples of a lot of them, so it just didn't think about it. But they're getting in higher demand these days, so it might be a tougher ask to find it, but I still want to point it out in case you see it when you're digging in the box. So these are just, again, ideas. Maybe you come across it. Just be aware of what you're flipping past and what you might be looking for when you're hitting the Uncanny. Might as well look for 164. You start hitting those issue numbers, maybe you find it. Good luck and Godspeed. Still got a couple of more stories for you to relate some books to you. And the next one being Spider-Man's getting a new series. I think it's the Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man is coming. And he's going to be battling an X-Men foe. Well, more of a New Mutants foe, but still. He's going to be facing somebody that's not in his rogues gallery. And that is going to be Demon Bear. And you can see him front and center here. Kind of a nice little homage to that Sienkiewicz cover for New Mutants 98. Not 98. New Mutants 19. To me, at least that's what I'm seeing when I look at that. I mean, it's on a little bit of an angle, but this is pretty cool. Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. He's going to face off against Demon Bear. So Demon Bear is another one of those characters where we're going to get a little bit of a split decision on that first, because I believe we get like a cameo, like a shadowy kind of thing going on in New Mutants number 3, because it's all tied, to dating Moonstar. So here we'll look at number 3 first, and then we'll get to the next one. So with number 3, you're looking at a book that this book heated up again with the New Mutants movie, because Demon Bear was, the big bad basically of that movie, but it's kind of come back down again. You can see $5, and then best offer on $10 gets you 2 issues. So what did that yield? That came out to $8 for those 2, and then the available copies out there right now are also in that $5 range, $5 to $15. So this is still a pretty cheap book. I know, again, it heated up when the movie was coming out, but that movie got delayed so many times. I think people just ignored it and got sick of digging out those Demon Bear New Mutants issues. So I think that's where these are at. So $5, you might find them in the cheap boxes again. So be mindful of it when you're flipping through. That's all. Maybe you find issue 3. And again, that has that kind of a little bit of a weak cameo, but cameo first, nonetheless, it is what it is. But the more popular pick, I guess, would be issue 18, where you can see the teeth there in the background with the Danny Moonstar, Demon Bear. So issues 18 and 19 were both selling, again, very well when the movie was coming out, but had found themselves falling on hard times again. But maybe they pick up again. I mean, look, March 24th, buy it now for 99 cents. So it sold for only $1, even online. And then an $8 copy. That was also fine. I'm not saying these are going to be high grade 9.8 copies that you're getting, but still, there are cheap copies to be had even online. And what's available? 10 to 14 bucks. So the asks are a little bit higher right now. I guess people have bought those cheap ones already, but there are cheap ones to be found if you are patient. But again, just go digging in those boxes. I found this book a number of times in the dollar boxes. Even when it was hot, it was still out there. So I got to imagine there's still plenty of them tucked away and found their way back into those dollar boxes again because, no one was talking Demon Bear. And I'm not even saying that him appearing in the new Spider-Man series is going to be that big a deal. It's kind of a fun thing to hunt. So just be aware of that as well. So I don't know, just some ideas based on some of these stories and announcements of just some books that you can find in those cheap boxes. And we're going to go to one more. And this is kind of going outside the realm of all the comics here. We're going to go with a little bit of a TV connection here. I'm a big fan of Supernatural, or I was a big fan of the show Supernatural, so I'm intrigued by this prequel a little bit. I like the idea of Dean Winchester narrating it, and here we have a cast, young John Winchester and Mary. This is a prequel. This is going to be the story of them in their youth, and I guess how they met, fell in love, all that stuff. But I think it's still kind of a cool hunting monsters. It's a family business. I'm interested. So, what do we have for Supernatural? They actually have comics, and these two characters in particular have a first appearance, and that is in the first Supernatural comic, which is Supernatural Origins, which was a Wildstorm book published under the DC imprint, so it's technically a DC book. The prequel. This is the prequel comic to the hit CW TV series at the time, and pretty cool cover there. I mean, it's right from that first episode there with Mary Winchester's up on the ceiling getting I'm not going to ruin it if you haven't seen the series. Go check it out. I think it's still on Netflix. Go watch all 15 seasons. But this is the first appearance in this issue 1. This is a 6-issue run, so get any of the 6 issues if you find them for cheap. And then there's also a beginning's end, and there might be a third mini. There's like a couple of minis, but I'd get any of these Supernatural comics because not only do I just like them, some of them actually do pretty well. So you can go ahead and check the eBays to see how some of these things sell, and you'll see that it's worth grabbing any of them if you find them. I mean, not like a ton. I'm just saying you might do all right with some of them. In this case, we're talking about issue 1. You can see this can sell for 10 bucks on its own. And it can also sell for as cheap as 10 bucks for the entire miniseries or up to 80 bucks for the entire miniseries. Crazy. Crazy how the pricing goes on that, right? It's just one of those things. It's all in the timing, I guess. I mean, these are only a day apart, but one at auction. Oh, granted, that $10, I didn't even notice that the $10 looks like it has no, it's only $5 shipping. I thought it said $35 shipping. No, it's still pretty cheap, but that was at auction. But to buy it now was 80 bucks. So, I don't know. Keep an eye on those auctions. Again, lesser known things, always look towards the auction because you might be the only bidder and have no competition. And the asking prices, again, we're going to go. You can see it's 15 to 18 bucks for just issue 1, whereas the whole set, the series, is 60 bucks. So whoever got that other series set for 10 bucks did pretty well because I know I dug most of these out of cheap boxes, but I did have to pay, I think, a couple of bucks online to get like the final issue or 2 of one of these minis. I don't know if it was the first one or if it was beginning's end or whatever. But that all said, these are the books that I got for you this week. Hopefully you enjoyed that weird little look into some of these titles and these options and ideas of things that you can go finding in those cheap boxes. I appreciate you all stopping by and checking it out. Hopefully you're enjoying that and enjoying the rest of the stuff here on the channel. I'm still enjoying doing it, so let me know what you think in the comments. Again, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Want to keep growing my channel and doing more fun video series for you. So give me some suggestions of some things you might want to see, and we'll see if we can work it in there. And with that all said, I will see you guys next time with some more fun books to talk about. Later.